Hey everybody, welcome back to another video on Gentry Gallery. Today I wanted to do a short one to show off this very impressive knife. This is a Case Stiletto, World War II era. Very cool knife. It has a 6 7/8 inch double-edged blade. You can see here it is marked Case on the ricasso. That is the only marking on this knife. Down here at the guard, very simple, slightly bent, double-sided guard, very similar to other Case models of the era. And moving on with that trend, the grip and pommel here, we have a darkened brown leather washer grip, stacked leather washers like a ton of other knives from this time period. Down here we have a plastic pommel. This is one of the coolest features. I love early plastics, and I think that the inclusion of this style pommel is always really awesome looking. You can see here there is this little aluminum butt plate that holds the whole thing together, and it's just a really badass knife. Second only in cool factor, in my opinion, to the V-42, at least as far as Case knives go. One thing to note about this one is how light it is. It is extremely lightweight. You could tell that this knife is very maneuverable, very deadly because of the blade shape, and I think that this composite pommel and I'm assuming thin tang inside of the grip keep the weight down like crazy on this thing, so it feels very light compared to most other fighting knives of the era. If you can't tell, I'm very excited to have this knife in my collection. Here we have the sheath. This actually isn't a typical sheath for one of these, but the gentleman who purchased it at the hardware store in my hometown, this knife has been in my hometown since World War II, with a few stops in between in Europe, but this is a Musco M6. See if I can get the markings there. It's a little beat up, but this was the sheath that he carried it in. Just your typical M6. Musco isn't particularly rare, but they aren't particularly common from my understanding. And I just think the M6 is one of my favorite sheaths, so I think it looks really cool. Down here we have this kind of macrame leather cording with a pretty intricate tie there. Looks very nice. And then up here, our leather retention strap and the hangers here. Show y'all what it looks like inside the sheath. Gotta be kind of careful because these staples, I'm always afraid with these sheaths that the staples are gonna scratch the blade, but that's how it was intended to be used. It's intended to keep the knife in there. So this is what it looks like in the sheath. I think it fits it really well. I love the look of it. I mean, it's just an iconic blade, so very, very pleased to own this one. I'm super happy to get to share it with you guys. There are actually 3 different types of Case stilettos. So there's this one. This is the bright marked stiletto. There's also a blued marked stiletto, bright blued I should say, and then there's also a parkerized looking sterile version that I actually see quite a bit for sale on like Gunbroker and stuff. I haven't pulled the trigger on one of those yet, just because I tend to be a sucker for the Case marked knives. It matches my collection pretty well, and since this one was from my hometown and belonged to a veteran who lived his whole life here and actually purchased the knife in our downtown at the hardware store, I think it's just really cool. Speaking of purchasing these knives, these were never actually an issued knife. This was a private purchase like a lot of other Case knives were. Regardless, extremely pleased to have this in my collection, and again, really happy to share it with you guys. If you have any questions or comments about this knife, please feel free to leave them below. And if you liked the video, drop a like on it. And if you didn't like the video, please feel free to dislike it. I'm just happy that y'all are watching. Anyways, guys, have a good one.